Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about the spell. No, we're talking about the feat, Metamagic Adept. Yes,
Magic.
magic.
Ah,
Well done.
thank you. That's what I'm here for. This is a Touch Cauldron of Everything feat. It requires you have spellcasting or pact magic. You learn how to exert your will on your spells to alter how they function. This is a robust, yet somewhat condensed options. So you learn two metamagic options from the sorcerer class. You can only use one metamagic option on a spell when you cast it, unless the option says otherwise. Whenever you reach a level that grants you access to an ability score improvement, you can place one of the metamagic options with another one. Basically, it gives you the metamagic feature. And then additionally, you get 2 sorcery points to spend on metamagic. These points are added to any sorcery points you have from another source, but can be only used on metamagic, which is notable because it means you can't use them to fuel the font of magic regaining spell slot BS that you can do with the coffee lock BS. So you have to use it for metamagic. You can't use it for other stuff. You regain all sorcery points when you finish a long rest. So you get 2 sorcery points for long rest to do careful spell, distance spell, empowered spell, extend spell, heightened spell, quicken spell, seeking spell, subtle spell, transmuted spell, or twinned spell. So you get 10 options. As long as they cost less than 3 sorcery points, you can take them. Because if they cost 3 or more, you can't use them. So I think there's 2 of these that don't qualify for this. But it is a pretty interesting little ability that does play well on some niche characters that I'm glad it exists for.
Now, all right, of those options, how many of them cost just 1 sorcery point?
Okay, so let's see. Careful spell spends takes 1. Distance takes 1. Empowered spell takes 1. Extended spell takes 1. Heightened spell takes 3, so it's out. Quicken spell takes 1 or takes 2. So currently 5 take 1, quicken takes 2, seeking takes 2, subtle takes 1, transmuted spell takes 1, and twinned takes number equal to the spell level. So if it's a first source cantrip, it's 1 sorcery point. Otherwise, it's 2. So you can basically all of them. 3 of them require 2. That's being twinned spell, quickened, and one other one. And the rest take 1 outside of heightened, which is 3, which we can't use. But the rest of them work.
Right, because my biggest concern with this is, if you're not a sorcerer and you're getting these are your only sorcery points.
Yeah,
right?
You get these 2 per long rest. You got to make them count.
Yeah.
Question is, how do you make them count?
Well, my idea was by spending 1 at a time.
That's a good way.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if the effect of spending 2 on 1 spell would be better, then that's something you can do. But then this feat is useless for the rest of your day until the next long rest.
So I think
I'm not super happy with.
Yeah, I think 2 empowered spells per long rest can be really debilitating. So twin spells we can take a look at. When you cast a spell that targets only 1 creature that doesn't have a range of self, you can spend a number of sorcery points equal to its level to cast it on a second creature within the same range. So 1 sorcery point it spells a cantrip, 1 if it's a first level spell, 2 if it's a second level spell. This means you can't double Eldritch Blast because it can target multiple things, but you can double things like Firebolt, you can double things like Haste. Haste obviously doesn't work, but Invisibility does because it's a second level spell, so you could give 2 the people invisibility at the same time. This is great with buff effects. So for characters like bards, for characters like anyone that's throwing around first level spell slots, even clerics with this, you can put 2 protection from you can double your concentration functionally on first level spells by doing 2 protection from evil and goods. You can do 2 the +2 AC Divine Favor that can work with this. So if you wanted to play the maximum buffing potential, that's a really easy way to do it. It'll feel like you have 2 super first level spell slots per long rest, which can be relevant. I think it's pretty cool. The one that I like the most is transmuted spell, specifically because it works with damage types and things that care about damage types. So for example, Tempest Domain Cleric gets a feature called Rat. God, there's gonna be so many niche options we talk about today. Gets a feature called Destructive Wrath, and Destructive Wrath says whenever you roll lightning damage, you can use your Channel Divinity to do max damage instead, and clerics get 2 per short rest at 6th level, which means a 6th level cleric with Destructive Wrath can have any of their spells deal damage get transmuted into thunder damage to get maximized by destructive wrath, which is pretty spicy. You can do some pretty cute little things with that, and that I think is a great use case for this feat, right? That's a powerful thing. You're happy to take, kind of like doubles the damage to what it'll often feel like of your spells. That's pretty fun, pretty cool way to use it. The other ones I'm a little bit less excited by. I think Quicken Dispel is something you do whenever you're doing the Eldritch Blaster nonsense and you want 2 more blasts per long rest, and that honestly is pretty good. Just like 1 round of 6 blasts at 4th level or at 5th level is, you know, really, really good. So finding ways to do that is pretty powerful. Like all of these are going to have specific fits for us, 1 or 2 niche character archetypes, and finding those, digging them out, will make this a lot better for you.
All right. Guess the other thing I wanted to talk about was I do like this on sorcerers though.
Yeah.
Just a way to expand your pool of points.
Yeah, 2 extra points for your ability score improvement, which often is just going to give you like an extra charisma, which is pretty good. But if you're not getting that and you want a feat, this is kind of the best feat you can possibly ask for. It lets you do all the things you're doing a little bit better. That's great. Having a couple extra sorcery points lying around, there's nothing. It's just going from 4 to 6 will make you feel like you've got so many extra just to mess around, do things with. You can spend some more of your lower points and be like, I want more spells right now. You can get some back. You can fire off more twin stuff. You can do more of the busted sorcerer nonsense that tends to be multi-class BS, and you can do that with just 4 levels in sorcerer, which is nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I like this primarily for breathing room for sorcerers, but yeah, the other stuff you said was pretty cool too. It's just it feels so limiting.
Yeah, it's like, are you specifically a Tempest Domain cleric? Are you specifically like a character that cares about the range of 1 or 2 specific spells? So like Twin Spell in particular is like, you really want 1 or 2 spells in mind whenever you pick this up that work with one of the metamagics, and they have to be in the low tiers, and that's whenever this will really shine brightly, right? Like this kind of caps out around 7th, 8th level where you're like, it's not that efficient anymore. Not necessarily efficient, it's not that effective anymore for the kind of tier we're getting to. To really care about like maximizing the effectiveness of 1st level spells. If you are playing a character up until like 7th level though, and you want a really big boost to a spellcaster, particularly bards, cleric, any of the full casters can take advantage of this basically. So this is something I would probably point people to if they know they're not going to be going in it for the long haul. If they know they're only going to be in the game for 5 to 7 levels, this is an easy place to put a feat, I think, if you're doing full casting stuff.
Just even if you are a Tempest Domain cleric, though, I mean, yeah, you get a big burst like once a day, or
Twice
can
a
you do it twice a day?
Yeah,
That's not nothing, but it's I don't know, I don't like being that constrained.
I think where it feels less constrained to me is whenever you look at its competition. So its competition will be like getting a 2nd level spell and a 1st level spell from one of those like Shadow Touched or Fey Touched. Those definitely appeal to me very much so. I love those feats because I like having more stuff to do. I think this is a metamagic instead that says, do you already like what you're doing? Do you want to do it even better? And that is where I think it's a bit more interesting. I could definitely see a cleric that says, my objective is to make the entire party have an AC over 20. And what they're doing is they're throwing out 2, they're a Forge Domain that's giving themselves the buffs on their like armor and stuff, and they're giving out 2 to Divine or Shield of Faiths to 2 buddies that are getting +2 AC, and they're like, we are a bulwark, and I will always be able to give +2 AC to 2 characters at once, and that's great, and you can just keep everyone alive, play defense, do those kind of things. That's the kind of character I would envision taking this. That's happy already with the robust roster of things they can do and wants to expand it out a little bit more. I think it like where sorcerers are happy to make their niche list a little bit more potent, I do think they probably benefit the most from getting an extra 2nd level and 1st level spell, right? The Phase Touch and Shadow Touch benefit sorcerers a lot because they're really limited in spell selection. So them having invisibility for free and another 1st level spell is great. Like you can cast them with the sorcerer spell slots. You're really happy with that, and the cost I think is still pretty high for them there. So I think that if you really want like to quicken a cantrip over and over again, if you love your Ray of Frost and you make a Ray of Frost build and you want to lean into it as much as you can without necessarily having to take a 3 or 4 level dip in sorcerer, this is a way to do it. This is a way to get the sorcerer dip feeling, which is genuinely powerful, right? There are a lot of classes that will absolutely dip 3 levels into sorcerer for metamagic. You wouldn't get it with a feat instead and progress towards your upper tier spell slots, upper tier subclass features without having to like dip out and do other things. I think that's the biggest perk of Metamagic Adept. You honestly can do both. So there'll be times where you'll reach the level you want to on your bard, you get to the 7th level, you get your subclass second feature or whatever, get 11th, get magical secrets, and then your next 3 levels are just going into sorcerer and going down that route. But if you wanted to get the little multi-class feeling out the gate a little bit faster, getting this as a feat for 4th level is a great way to sort of get you on that path to having cantrip after cantrip after cantrip after cantrip quickened off every single round off of, doing transmuted stuff where you care about psychic damage or you care about fire damage and you really want to maximize that effectiveness on some archetype that I can't think of off the top of my head that cares about the damage types besides Tempest Domain. If you want to really, for some reason, care about extend the spell, which I can't fathom a character that can figure out how to make extend spell good just because doubling the duration of something is just not that meaningful most of the time.
Sure, there are probably a handful of particular spells that it could be effective on, but I agree for most of them. Like if something lasts an hour, is 2 hours going to really make a huge difference? Or if something lasts a round or whatever, 2 rounds,
a minute,
whatever.
Right?
Yeah,
a minute is such an awkward time because an encounter normally doesn't even last that long.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're probably right. There have to be some spells that care about it. I can't think of any of them, but maybe they do. I think Distant is kind of in the same boat where it's normally the range on the spells are good enough. I think Distant's a nice one to have in your you get 2 of these right whenever you take the feat. You take one of the spells you're gonna want, like Transmuted or Twinned or Quickened even. Quickened is very good. You get the ones that are empowering the sheet the way you expect to, one of those ones. And then Distant is kind of like a nice fallback to say, oh crap, I'm not in range of this thing and I can't move to get within range of it, but I can't distance to get in range with it. And that's a little nice, quick on the fly, flexible one. I think that comes up the most. Beyond that, Careful is kind of cute, but for the most part, there's 4 of these that I would want 2 of. And whenever you get to that point, you're going to be do these work with the spells that I want? Are these empowering a specific spell in a specific way? If so, and you want to stay in your core class, sure. Metamagic Adept is great.
Well, you got a rating for it?
I think it's a 4 because of how much power is baked into Metamagic. Quickened, Twinned, and even Transmuted in some niche cases. Oh boy, are they powerful. You'll see rounds where someone will just pop off with 15 Eldritch Blast and you'll be like, oh my god, how do I manage this crap? But that is a fairly specific use case. I think on your average wizard, your average cleric, it is going to be very fair, and it's going to still give you some moments the low tier should be powerful, but the moment you get, again, past 9th, 10th level, if you aren't dipping into Sorcerer, this is going to fall off very fast as far as, giving you the feeling of being able to empower your spells the way you want.
Yeah, all right, 4 sounds about fair. I've got corn feelings about this one. On one hand, it feels like, those 2 points seem really limiting, but on the other hand, they are potentially very powerful.
Yeah. And anytime you can consider it to be a second concentration effect up at once, boy, is that good, right? You just need 2 levels in Sorcerer to twin hastes, and twinning hastes is yucky good with this feat, right? So you can do some busto stuff that will make it feel like they have more impact than just 1 extra spell cast kind of deal. Yeah,
there's a lot of potential here. So 4 it is. All right. Thank you, Sam, and that was thank you everyone for joining us. That was Metamagic Adept. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and like and subscribe to the channel and all that, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.